How do you remember everything you learn in pen testing? This is a video that was inspired by one of our own viewers, Harry Maguire. Shout out to him. Thanks for the comment. I thought it was a really good question. I wanted to address it with its own dedicated video. What's up, guys? This is Ryan from elevatecyber. In this video, I will be answering a question I'm sure a lot of you guys have had, and that is, how do you remember everything that you learned in cybersecurity? Now, let me first start off by saying I'm not this all-knowing being. I'm no better than anyone else here in the sense that, yeah, of course, I forget what I learn all the time. And there are some tricks. This is not just me saying, don't worry about memorizing stuff. I'm going to give you some actual tricks that you can use to solidify the stuff you learn, because there are some things that you can do to really make sure you lock down things. And I discovered them through, in some cases, completely unrelated things that I was trying to learn, and end up teaching me how to do that. But then also there are some important considerations to make, right? So first of all, let's think about memory here for a second, right? Our brains have adapted to remember the things that are important for us to remember, meaning that if your brain doesn't see a particular piece of knowledge as being important, it will forget that piece of information. And another reason why I wanted to hurry up and make this video today is because it relates very closely to my video from yesterday that I put out on don't try to memorize code. So I will say that as well. You want to ask yourself, before you even go on the venture down and start using these tricks that I'm about to talk about in a minute, I think it's important to ask yourself, is there any point in actually memorizing this, right? Because in a similar vein to don't necessarily try to memorize code, don't necessarily try to remember every bit of information in cybersecurity pen testing either, right? Because there's certain things that, okay, just reference it, right? So as what I normally like to say, I think it holds true here, is that you need to aim for understanding a topic, right? So don't try to necessarily just memorize everything for the sake of it. If it's something that can be easily referenced in the future, then go ahead and do that. Let me give you a tangible example. I don't want to just be speaking in hypotheticals here. So let's say that you don't remember how to create malicious CSRF payloads from a HTTP post request. Let's say you don't necessarily remember the exact way to go about doing that. Well, you could just Google it, right? Let's assume you don't have BERT Pro, right? If you have BERT Pro, obviously you just right-click, generate CSRF POC, and it'll do it for you. But let's say you don't have BERT Pro, you need to do it manually. Let's say that I don't know how to do that. I could simply Google creating, forging post request with CSRF, and I could find the syntax of how to take a valid post request, turn it into a payload that will include JavaScript to automatically send those post request, right? Oh, okay, hidden form fields is what I need. Okay, so this is how I create a hidden form field in HTML, and I'm going to put in every single parameter from the body. I'm going to put that in a hidden form field. Okay, and now here's how I write JavaScript to auto-submit this data here, right? And so these are things that you don't necessarily have to memorize. In fact, I wouldn't ever recommend memorizing the exact syntax to do that, because you can look it up at any point. There's no reason for that. But aim for understanding, right? It's important to know what CSRF is. You don't want to forget that bit of information, right? And it's important to know how to test for CSRF. Those are more broad, overarching concepts that you want to memorize that, right? You want to know what the vulnerabilities are and how to look for them. Let's be honest, a lot of times I have to reference certain bits of information before I make a video so that I can, not that I don't know what I'm talking about, but I might have forgotten some fine details here, or how to specifically, the syntax for this or syntax for that. And so before I make the video, I need to make sure that my mind's brushed up on it. And what you'll find is that if you're if you aim to teach someone something, you're going to end up filling in all the gaps in the knowledge that you had that you didn't even realize, because when you actually go to explain it, you'll be like, well, okay, well, why do I do it this way, right? And that will set you down the path of filling in those gaps and really understanding it way more. And that knowledge will stay with you more long-term when you actually learn it to that degree. So that's one of the biggest hacks, I would say. And you don't have to be a YouTuber. That's not what I'm saying. You could teach it to a friend that's trying to learn cybersecurity. You could, if you don't have any friends trying to learn cybersecurity, you could go out on, create a Twitter account. This will help you when you go to find a job, or if you have a job to find a better job, if you have a solid Twitter. In fact, I need to do more on Twitter myself, but yeah, you could make Twitter posts teaching people how to do certain things. And that would be one way as well. Create a blog, right? Security blog sites are very popular, and for good reason. That's definitely an opportunity to teach what you know as well. Or maybe just talk it through. Maybe just talk to a rubber ducky. I don't know. But if you're trying to explain it in whatever format, whether it's by typing up a blog post, article, making a video, whatever it is, if you actually try to explain it, that will help greatly in solidifying the knowledge and making sure you really thoroughly understand a topic. Now, I do have another trick for you, and this one actually comes from the area of language learning. That's something that I really enjoy on the side, is learning new languages, learning about new cultures and stuff. But amongst people that are very successful at learning additional languages, polyglots especially, which if you're not familiar, a polyglot is someone that can actually speak 5 or more languages. One of the tools that they make very rigorous use of are SRS tools, spaced repetition, I think spaced repetition systems, I believe. I'm not sure if the last S is for systems or not, but spaced repetition, right? So there are tools like Anki is the most popular, ANKI, if you want to check that one out. Basically, it is a flashcard application where you can create your own flashcards for anything you want to memorize. And there's basically an algorithm that's running behind the scenes. And the more you get something right, the further apart you'll have to review that bit of information. So the concept is, as the name implies, spaced repetition. So you're going to solidify something if you see it again and again, but not just rote memorization. So the more you get it right, the longer the interval between reviewing it that you can go. And then if you ever get it wrong, then it resets in the algorithm. So in the beginning, you're going to have to review a bit of information more and more. And as you do that and get it right more and more times, you go longer and longer without having to review that information. It sticks with you. And this seems to stand to reason, right? Because, if there's something that you use a lot, right? Oftentimes you just find you naturally memorize it out of necessity. Why? Because it keeps recurring, right? It's a recurring situation, and you might have had to look it up the first time, 2 times, 3 times, maybe even 4 times. But by that 5th time, you probably didn't have to look it up. And if you did, maybe it was just a little, fine detail here and there. And that's kind of what SRS will do for you. The nice part is the algorithm's running for you. As long as you're doing the flashcards consistently, then the algorithm's going to work properly, and it's going to bring it up at the right frequency, the right intervals, so that you memorize it. So maybe you have some fine details or things that you actually really, you determined you need to memorize this. I would recommend creating some SRS, some an Anki deck for it, and you can drill it that way if it's something that lends itself to that medium of learning. That's what language learners do and have been doing for years, and it's been one of the hacks that they came up with that I think is really a really good thing and applicable to different domains, like to security as well. I personally haven't found anything that I use this for, though I'm pretty new to using SRS. I've known about it for a while, but I haven't used it much until lately. I've been doing some foreign language stuff. Recently been seeing a lot of success with the SRS system, so perhaps in the future, I might take this over into security and start using it for certain things that I might want to memorize. And if you do have something that you feel is really, you might want to try this on, let us know in the comments section. We'll bounce some ideas off each other, and maybe there is some things that are really good to memorize and it would be a good use case for something like this. But I know this has worked really well for me in language learning and for a lot of other people as well. So that's something you might want to consider in addition to teaching what you learn. Yeah, so hopefully this has helped you guys quite a bit. In not forgetting what you learn in cybersecurity, but you don't have to memorize everything. I want you to make sure above all else you know that, because there's nothing wrong with looking stuff up. That doesn't mean that you don't understand the material. Like I said the other day in the video, even the best developers constantly reference, other people's code and look things up, even reference their own code. And so it stands to reason in cybersecurity, you're still going to need to look things up, and there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean you don't understand your craft. It just means that, hey, you will remember what you need to remember, and maybe that bit of information is just not something that you needed to remember, right? So yeah, hopefully this helps you guys, and be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit the like button as well to help get this message out there. And if you are really eager to apply what you learn in this video and get started with just learning more cybersecurity, or even just really leveling up your skill set from where it is currently. Maybe you're going for the OSCP. I have some videos on screen for you now, what you need to know for OSCP. You know what? I'll see you guys right over in those videos. Thanks for watching.